Welcome, intrepid souls, to a realm where the world itself seems to hold its breath, where the very air crystallizes into bitter shards of ice, and the silence is so profound it presses against your eardrums, echoing with the unspoken dread of millennia. What if the boundless, shimmering expanse of the Arctic, that unforgiving crucible of white and blue, is not merely a desolate wilderness, but a colossal, living tomb? What if the ice, ancient beyond human comprehension, remembers every desperate breath, every last whisper, every agonizing moment of those who dared to challenge its dominion? Imagine, if you will, being utterly alone amidst an ocean of frozen desolation, miles from any living soul, the sun a mere ghost in the sky, or vanished altogether for months on end, leaving you bathed in an eternal twilight, the only light provided by the ethereal, dancing tendrils of the aurora borealis, a beautiful yet unsettling curtain call. For the sanity of men. Are you ready to hear tales etched into the very permafrost? Stories of spectral figures who still wander the frigid wastes, their eyes hollow with the cold of centuries, of monstrous hungers born from the land's own starvation, and of the silent, insidious terrors that seep into the mind, twisting reality until the very ice beneath your feet seems to crackle with malevolent sentience. This is our journey into the heart of the North Pole's most chilling enigmas, where the boundary between life and death, between sanity and madness, is as thin and fragile as a newly formed sheet of ice. Our odyssey into the heart of the profound silence begins with the whispers of the ice, ghosts of the lost expeditions, a haunting symphony of human ambition, hubris, and the Arctic's merciless embrace, resonating through the frigid air like a spectral bell. Picture, if you can, the vast, featureless expanse of the Arctic Ocean, an endless canvas of white where the horizon dissolves into a blinding, featureless void, and the only sound for days on end is the biting moan of the wind, a mournful dirge echoing through the ice-bound wastes. This was the stage for countless epic voyages, grand expeditions fueled by an insatiable thirst for discovery, for glory, and for the fabled Northwest Passage, a shortcut through the very top of the world. Yet, for many, this icy frontier became their final resting place, a vast, unmarked graveyard where their hopes, their dreams, and their very lives were swallowed by the unforgiving cold. Think of Sir John Franklin's ill-fated expedition aboard HMS Erebus and HMS Terror, two formidable ships, state-of-the-art for their time, equipped with steam engines and reinforced hulls, carrying 129 officers and men who set sail from England in 1845 with an air of unshakable confidence, never to be seen again by European eyes. Can you feel the crisp salt spray on your face, the tremor of the mighty engines as these vessels push deeper into the unknown, their crews brimming with the naive optimism of conquerors? But the Arctic, ancient and implacable, had other plans. The expedition vanished, leaving behind only tantalizing, horrifying clues discovered decades later. Cairns of skeletal remains, a scattered trail of discarded equipment, and the chilling, undeniable evidence of scurvy, lead poisoning from tainted provisions, and in the most desperate of circumstances, the unthinkable cannibalism. Imagine the descent into that hell, the ships hopelessly trapped in the grinding embrace of the multi-year ice, their mighty hulls groaning under the immense pressure, the perpetual twilight of the polar winter descending like a shroud, casting endless shadows that played tricks on their starving, lead-addled minds. The days bled into weeks, weeks into months, and months into years, hope slowly freezing in their veins, replaced by a gnawing despair that gnawed at their very souls. It is whispered that the spirits of these doomed sailors, unable to find rest, still wander the phantom deck of their frozen ships, or drift across the featureless expanses of ice and snow, their tattered uniforms fluttering like forgotten flags in the perpetual gale. Explorers and indigenous hunters alike, traversing the desolate Victoria Strait or the icy channels of King William Island, have reported spectral impressions, fleeting glimpses of gaunt, frost-bitten faces appearing in the mist, the distant mournful clang of a ship's bell from beneath the ice, or the sound of phantom boots crunching on snow where no living person treads. There are tales of isolated trappers who, seeking shelter in abandoned huts, awoke to the chilling sensation of unseen eyes watching them, or the faint, raspy whispers of men arguing over dwindling rations, their breath like mist in the spectral air of the long-dead past. The sheer intensity of their suffering, the utter despair of being trapped, slowly dying in such an indifferent and hostile environment, seems to have etched itself onto the very fabric of the landscape, creating an enduring, invisible monument to their tragic end. The persistent mystery of their fate, even after the discovery of the wrecks of the Erebus and Terror, only deepens the chilling sense that their story is not over, that their desperate final acts have left an indelible stain on the pristine white canvas of the North, forever blurring the lines between historical tragedy and supernatural haunting. The cold itself seems to remember, holding within its icy grasp the echoes of 129 lost souls, forever bound to their silent, frozen tomb. If the spectral figures of human despair cast long shadows across the ice, then the deep, gnawing hunger of the Arctic itself has birthed another kind of terror, a primal dread embodied in the hunger's embrace, abominations of the frozen wastes. This is not merely a tale of starving animals, but of something far more insidious, a spiritual corruption born of the profound, unyielding desolation of the land. Picture a landscape stripped bare, where the wind scours the last vestiges of life from the exposed rock, where the snow stretches endlessly, an empty white page waiting for the next tragedy to be written upon it. Here, survival is a brutal, constant struggle, and the line between man and beast, between sanity and savagery, becomes perilously thin. The indigenous peoples of the North, with their ancient wisdom honed by generations of living in harmony with, and at the mercy of, this stark environment, know that the greatest danger is not always the cold, but the hunger that can twist a soul into something monstrous. Central to these chilling narratives is the legend of the Wendigo, a terrifying entity from the Algonquian folklore, not simply a creature, but a malevolent spirit of the winter, of starvation, and of cannibalism. Imagine a human, lost and desperate in a blizzard, his mind shattered by the gnawing emptiness in his belly, his body racked by the relentless cold, and then, slowly, insidiously, succumbing to the unthinkable, consuming the flesh of another human to survive. This act, according to the legends, transforms the person, not just physically, but spiritually. The Wendigo is described as a gaunt, emaciated figure, its skin pulled taut over sharp bones, eyes burning like hot coals in deep sockets, its lips ripped and bleeding from endless self-devouring hunger, its breath a chilling gust of frost. Its feet are often depicted as having no toes, leaving peculiar tracks, and its heart is said to be made of ice. But the true horror lies in its insatiable, perpetual hunger. No matter how much it consumes, it is never sated, forever driven by a ravenous craving, growing larger and more terrifying with each victim it devours, transforming into a towering skeletal parody of humanity, capable of immense speed and strength. Can you hear its high-pitched, guttural shriek carried on the wind, a sound that promises not just death, but utter desecration? Tales abound of hunters who vanished, only for their companions to later discover dismembered bodies, or find strange, unidentifiable tracks in the snow leading away from a camp, hinting at a presence that was unnaturally swift and utterly merciless. There are stories of communities living in perpetual fear, locking their doors at night, for the Wendigo is not just a creature of the wilderness. It can stalk the fringes of human settlements, whispering insidious temptations of forbidden sustenance to the starving, preying on their weakest moments, turning them into its own kind. Sometimes the transformation is gradual, a man consumed by hunger, whose eyes begin to glow with an unnatural light, whose voice grows raspy, whose movements become jerky and unnatural, until his loved ones recognize the terrifying change and are forced to make an impossible choice. Even the animals seem to sense its presence. The normal cries of wolves turn into howls of fear, and the great white bear, king of the ice, will sometimes give a wide berth to certain silent valleys where an unholy hunger is rumored to reside. These are not just monsters in the dark. They are the embodiment of the Arctic's most brutal lessons, a stark reminder that the extreme cold and starvation can not only break the body, but utterly corrupt the very essence of what it means to be human, leaving behind an entity driven only by an endless, consuming need, a silent terror that hunts. With chilling patience in the vast, unforgiving white. But beyond the tangible apparitions and the monstrous hungers lies a deeper, more insidious threat, one that attacks the very core of perception and sanity, the great white silence, the mind's unraveling in the Arctic night. Imagine the suffocating vastness of the polar night, stretching for months, where the sun is a forgotten memory, and the only light comes from the cold, indifferent stars or the mesmerizing serpentine dance of the aurora borealis, painting the sky with impossible greens and purples that feel less like natural phenomena and more like the ethereal breath of some ancient cosmic entity. In this environment, the silence itself becomes a living, breathing thing, pressing down on the senses, amplifying every creak of the ice, every gust of wind, until the very air seems to hum with unspoken dread. Have you ever experienced true, absolute silence, so profound that your own heartbeat becomes a thunderous drum in your ears, and the blood rushing through your veins a roaring torrent? Now imagine that silence for weeks, for months, broken only by the maddening whisper of the wind or the groan of shifting ice, a sound that could easily be mistaken for the lament of a leviathan or the grinding of ancient, unseen gears. This is the crucible where the human mind, isolated, starved of light and sensory input, begins to fray at the edges, losing its grip on reality. Explorers and indigenous people alike have whispered tales of Arctic hysteria, or pibloktok, a mysterious condition where individuals, seemingly without cause, suddenly shed their clothes, scream incoherently, run naked into the snow, or speak in unknown tongues, only to return to normal hours later with no memory of the event, leaving those who witnessed it shaken to their core. Was it a neurological disorder, or the direct influence of the land itself, a response to its immense oppressive power? The extreme cold, the isolation, the relentless monotony, and the ever-present threat of death combined to create a psychological pressure cooker, leading to vivid hallucinations that blur the line between inner torment and outer reality. Sailors trapped in the ice reported seeing phantom companions, engaging in long, desperate conversations with men who had died months ago, finding comfort in their spectral presence, only for them to vanish like mist in the fleeting dawn. Others spoke of the ice forming monstrous faces, grotesque visages that seemed to watch them with cold, malevolent eyes, or the wind carrying the voices of loved ones from thousands of miles away, beckoning them into the endless white. The terrifying siren call of hypothermia is another insidious terror. As the body's core temperature drops, a profound, comforting warmth often washes over the victim, accompanied by vivid, blissful visions of sun-drenched fields, crackling fires, and the loving embrace of family, lulling them into a peaceful, fatal sleep. It's a trick of the mind, a cruel last gift from the freezing grip of death, making the end seem desirable. But what if these visions are more than just electrochemical misfires? What if they are fleeting glimpses into another layer of existence, a world where ancient preternatural entities sleep beneath the ice, stirring in their vast, cold dreams, their influence seeping into the minds of the vulnerable, testing their very will to survive? The Inuit speak of the Kalupalik, a monstrous, siren-like creature said to dwell beneath the sea ice, its skin scaly, its hair long and green, luring children to their watery graves with a lullaby, sometimes associated with the cracking of the ice. The vastness and the unknown elements of the Arctic are ripe for such interpretations. The sounds of the ice groaning and cracking could be the movements of colossal, unseen entities, and the profound, isolating silence could be their watchful waiting. The fear of simply being in this vast, indifferent landscape, knowing that at any moment the ice could shift, a blizzard could strike, or your own mind could betray you, is a terror far more potent than any fanged beast or rattling chain. It leaves a permanent, chilling scar on the psyche, a reminder that the North Pole is not just a place on a map, but a living, breathing force, ancient and terrifyingly powerful, forever waiting to claim those who dare to trespass too deeply into its silent, frozen heart. And so we emerge from the heart of the great white silence, leaving behind the spectral echoes of lost explorers, the chilling shriek of starvation-born abominations, and the subtle, insidious unraveling of the human mind against the backdrop of an indifferent, cosmic void. The Arctic, vast and unforgiving, remains a land of profound enigma, a place where the fragility of human life is laid bare against the overwhelming power of the elements, and where the veil between what we perceive as reality and the boundless expanse of the supernatural is thinner than the frost on a winter morning. Have you ever truly considered the immense, silent forces that shape our world, forces that predate humanity, indifferent to our struggles, yet capable of touching our lives in ways both wondrous and terrifying? The persistent legends and real-world accounts from the North stand as a stark, chilling testament to this truth. They are not mere campfire tales spun to pass the long, dark nights, but echoes of profound experiences, of terror, of awe, and of a deep, primal connection to a land that holds secrets beyond our current comprehension. So the next time you gaze upon an image of the desolate Arctic, or feel the biting touch of winter's wind against your skin, pause for a moment. Listen closely. For in that profound silence, within the very essence of the cold, you might just catch a faint whisper carried on the unseen currents, a distant, mournful cry, or the chilling sensation of unseen eyes watching from the swirling mists, a timeless reminder that the silent terrors of the North are not confined to ancient lore, but are living, breathing realities, forever waiting for you to acknowledge their ancient, potent power. And perhaps, if you are truly attentive, you might even feel the cold embrace of something ancient, something frozen in time, reaching out from the depths of the ice, a timeless and unsettling reminder that the boundaries of our world are far more permeable than we ever dared to imagine.